"Time," said a hurler suddenly in a loud voice, raising his glass above his head, "and there won't be an English soldier seen in our land from one end of it to the other." The other hurlers clinked their glasses against his to honour the toast. The door opened in the silence that followed the toast, showing two tall Irish constabulary men standing on the threshold with their martial coats around them. The dusky bronze harp with the crown over it, sleepy looking in its oval bed of green cloth stuck in front of their round black caps set to the side of their heads, a chin strap keeping the caps to their perky angle, and their glossy black belts with buttons hanging from them, their heavy top coats fenced into two long, neat folds stretching all the way down their backs. After dawdling at the door for a few moments, the two constables sidled up to the counter, Tom and his party shoving up closer to their end of the counter, the hurlers moving closer up to theirs, so that the policeman had a little space between the backs of the soldiers on the left and the backs of the hurlers on the right. "2 Guinnesses," said one of the policemen, apologetically, for he knew that the bartender and the hurlers knew they were supposed to be out patrolling the road instead of being where they were now. The bartender, all attention to these gods of the Irish countryside, hurried the bottles of stout to the policeman, who moved closer to Tom and his comrades, who moved further away when they felt the touch of the policeman. Quarles and Mick couldn't let well enough alone, couldn't let the silence sing the song of peace. "If you ask Mick," he said, "when the redcoats weren't driven out of Ireland when Parnell was high and mighty, they'll hardly do it today now he's down among the dead men." Then Tom had to go on better. He was always weak enough to want to follow where Mick led. "Who was a troop the great Parnell to the English wolves?" he asked in a voice meant for the hard of hearing. "Was it the English redcoats who done it?" "A home and a coffin and a graveyard garden in Glasnevin. That's what Ireland gave him," said Mick. "And I'll go bail," said Tom, taking down the beer in great gulps, "that there were more than a few hurlers' hands helping to pack him into his coffin." A hurler wheeled around on him, his face tense, his eyes blazing. "No hurler's hand here helped him into his coffin," he shouted, his face flaming in the gap between the two black-coated policemen. "The Irish always destroy their best men," said Mink. "Here now," said the bartender, shoving his gob over the counter towards Tom, "there's to be no fighting here. This is a respectable house, fully approved of by the magistrates and the parish priest." "Now, boys, now," murmured one of the policemen. "Walk, talk it over easy. This is a free country where everybody has a right to his own opinion." "Look at Swift McNeil," said Tom, now excited but keeping his back to the hurlers. "Wasn't it him who said at a Dublin meeting, 'God forbid that the man who led us through darkness and difficulty should be deserted by his comrades'? And him the first to vote for the betrayal of his leader to the English." "And him a Dublin man too," said Mick. "Dublin went a whoreding when she bred the bastard who betrayed Parnell." "Easy, easy," murmured the other constable. The bartender again leaned his gob over the counter, gently shoving a constable a little aside with his hand to bring it nearer to Mick. "Isn't it after saying I am," he said emphatically, "that no other language other than that in common utterance is to be used in this respectable house?" All were excited except the policemen. They were uneasy, but couldn't slink away now without loss of dignity. So they lounged over the counter, trying to look undisturbed, stuck in the middle of the hubbub like a pair of crows among a chattering group of coloured jays. "Look at Tim Healy too," said Mick bitterly, "swearing he'd never desert a chief who'd led Ireland so far forward." And all the time the bantry bowsy itching to make an end of Parnell, even if he had to make an end of Ireland at the same time. Healy's your hero now. Muck Parnell made into a man, a guck in a simple gown, England's foster son. And where's Ireland now? Buried with Parnell deep in Glasnevin Cemetery. Now let the poor man rest, said a constable. He's dead, isn't he? So let the poor man rest in peace. Who's dead? Who's dead? Asked the hurler fiercely, wheeling around to face the constable. Parnell, said the constable softly. So let the poor man rest in peace. You and your like'd like him to be dead, said the hurler furiously. But Parnell's more alive than ever. And Parnell'll never be in peace till the swarm of traitors that pounded him to his death are flung from life, till they're stretched out cold and unremembered be a single soul left to lift a hand for Ireland's freedom. The carman sitting in the corner suddenly jumped up and slid over to where the talk was, wiping the drains of beer from his lips. His green gone bowler hat balanced on the back of his head, stained clay pipe waving in his hand like a conductor's wand, his dull eyes trying to force a gleam out of them, and the corners of his splay mouth twitching. It's sick I'm getting, he said, listening to the holies. If Parnell had loved his country, he'd have known himself he wasn't fit to lead us off, mitted himself with the harlot Kitty O'Shea. Jesus, ejaculated the hurler with a sound of agony in his voice and a look of agony in his face. Is it listening to an Irishman I am when I hear a thing like that? I told yous before, and I'm telling yous again, said the bartender furiously, that this talk will have to be heard only out of hearing of the decent people who frequent this decent house for entertainment. He shoved his thick gob over the counter, thrusting it sideways and tilting it towards the angry hurler. And furthermore, I'm not going to have any confusion here over Parnell either, for when all's said and done, he's gone. And a good riddance too, bringing disgrace on Ireland's fair and holy name, be committing an immortal sin. Besought with rage, the hurler let fly with his fist, and gave the protruding gob of the bartender a violent blow on the snot, forcing a stream of blood to flow from over his mouth on the front of the once white apron, and causing to sweep down a serene row of newly cleansed glasses with his arm as he staggered back. He slithered to the floor shouting, "Me nose is slitting, me glass is gone, and me only after cleaning them." The constables were afraid of the hurlers, for no one could say, especially a policeman, what a hurler might do with a hurley in his hand. So they turned on the other party very officious and full of the law. "Now," said one of them to Mick and Tom, "you two members of Her Majesty's forces better be getting out of this. Do you hear us? We can't have quarrelsomeness coming into the quiet countryside. So gone now, period, before we have to intervene to prevent any further tendency to provoke a breach of the peace. We'll finish our drinks we paid for before we go," said Tom surlily. "The minute they landed in here," said the bartender thickly, threw a handkerchief hand to his nose, "they started a row with these decent men here," and he pointed to the hurlers. "They started no row with us," said one of the hurlers. "What we said and they said was said in quietness and calm." "Here now," said the constable, touching Mick on the shoulder. "Swally up the remainder of that beer you said there, and be off, like good men." "Oh, let the men finish their drinks in a decent way," said one of the hurlers. The policeman wheeled around to face the hurler. "It's a dangerous thing for anyone to try to obstruct a constable in the discharge of his duty," he said, warningly. "Did you ever hear the song everyone's singing now?" asked Mick and Tom, with a wink at the hurlers. No, said Tom, what song may that be now? The Peeler and the Goat, said Mick, mentioning a song of derision that the police hated and dreaded above all others. If I could remember, I'd sing it for you. I know it, said Sean, eagerly. It goes like this. A Banshee peeler went one night on duty on patrol, and oh, he met a goat upon the road, and he took him to be a stroller, oh. With bayonet fixed he sallied forth, and caught her by the snow. And then he swore a mighty oath, I'll take you off to prison, oh. The horrors tittered, and the constables flushed. One of them came close to glare at the singing Sean. What are you doing in a place like this, me old-fashioned, cocky little kidger, with your ears open to catch language that'll knock hell out of all decency in your later life? I'm here with me own two brothers, said Sean sturdily. Oh, you are you? Well, it's not in a place like this a lot of yours years ought to be, catching more than a glimpse of things you oughtn't to see. I'm not going to ask your permission to come here anyway, muttered the half-frightened Sean. Oh, yarden, you guy, cheeky little cur. And the constable swung an arm, bringing his hand to Sean's ear with a box that sent him spinning towards the door, dazed, dumb, bothered. But dazed as he was, Sean saw the lovely sight of Mick sending a short jab to the constable's jaw that tilted up his head with a jerk. And when the poor man's head was well up, a straight left beauty to his chin that sent him in a curling heap to the floor. He saw the other constable putting a hand on his baton, saw Tom taking a hurley from a horror's outstretched hand, saw this constable hesitate when he saw the hurley in Tom's hand, and the light of battle in Mick's eyes. He turned and went to his comrade's aid. The bartender, holding a handkerchief to his nose, filled out a glass of brandy, and the carman stood by to help if help was needed. The horrors made for the door, beckoning Tom and his companions to follow, and all hurried out into the darkening garden. Let's scatter, lads, said the horror when they reached the road. They heard a long, shrill blast from a whistle, and turning they saw the dark figure of a constable and the light streaming from the open door. He's blown for the rest of the polis. We'll have to run for it. The car, said Tom. Let's take off. We're city men, said a horror, and don't know how to drive. Nor we either, said Mick. I can, said Sean eagerly. I often drove our milkman's Jennet, and he's a bit hard to handle. Then they heard an answering whistle from a long distance away. Up witches, up with us, said the horror. They sprang up on the car, Mick and two horrors on one side, Tom and two horrors on the other, Archie in the rear, with his legs dangling down the back of the car, while Sean climbed into the little front seat, gathered the reins and whip in his hand, gave a sharp gee up to the nag, and away they all went at a quiet trot down the road, as the figure of the carman ran out onto the road and began yelling after them. Hey there! They heard him cry. Hey, come back with me car and me mare, you daylight robbers! Hey there, come back! Give her a touch of the whip, said Archie. Ignoramus, panted Sean, and you seen she's cold from standing so long. Wait till she warms up a bit, and then we can make her go. Gee up, girl. Yep, me lassie. We're safe when we get away, said a horror. When the peelers cool down, they'll remember it would be hard to say why they were drinking in patrol. And anyway, whatever the Jarvey may be, you'll find he's no informer. In the distance, they heard a few more whistles. Sean caught up the whip and gave the mare a flick or two on the flanks. Away she tore now, hedges flying up like mad things, for the mare was turning along now at a full gallop. That was a gorgeous clip you gave the bastard on the chin, said a horror to Mick. It must have given him a new vision of hell open for sinners. Along past numbers of little cottages, the little lights in their little windows flitting by them like falling golden stars. On over the bridge crossing the Tolka, giving a fleeting glimpse of the blue-mantled Virgin standing on a pillar alone among a clump of river-soaked cottages, where the horror sang as well as the rocking gallop of the car going would allow, a song to honour Parnell. Though enemies may frown on our king without a crown, he done his duty to old Ireland well. All our leaders dead, his memory lives instead. The late lamented Charles Stuart Parnell. On at a lolloping gallop goes the tidy limb mare. A gallop, a gallop, a gallop, couples in each other's arms lying by the roadside or standing silent close to a wall, turning to look at the janting car go racing by, with its red coats and green jerseys arm in arm on the seats, singing their song to honour the great Irish chieftain Parnell. Along the roads, Sean flushed with pride, thinking he was the American male flying from the Redskins, turning recklessly around corners, the car swaying, the men holding on, stopping their song till the car levelled itself again to go swinging down another road, slowing down a little as they came to near where the gallop was to stop, Sean pulling the mare gradually to a halt before the doorway of the Cross Guns Tavern. He jumped off, gave the mare a swift wipe with his cap, took a rug from the well of the car and flung it over the animal's loins and back, and then tied her to a nearby lamppost where a hurler said the carman would find her sooner or later. "Scatter, lads," said a hurler, and he and his comrades raised their hurleys high over their heads. "Hurrah, hurrah for Parnell," they shouted. "Hurrah for Ireland too," shouted the excited Tom. "And Ireland too," shouted the hurlers. Sean felt that he had done a good day's work. And then he remembered he had left behind him on the counter the lovely bunch of crimson and golden berries plucked for his mother, and his heart felt a little sad again.
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, was I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone. And she wheeled a wheelbarrow through the streets broad and narrow, crying, cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. She was a fishmonger, and sure 'twas no wonder, for her mother and father were fishmongers too. And they wheeled their wheelbarrow through the streets broad and narrow, crying, cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Oh, she died in a fever, and 'twas no one could save her. Ah, and that was the end of sweet Molly Malone. Now her ghost wheels a wheelbarrow through the streets broad and narrow, crying,
in Ulster, 9 in all, our man from Donegal. Here's to Cavan and to Derry and Tyrone. Two for Monaghan, Monaghan down, we'll throw out the puppet ground, until Ireland's 32 is all our own. Then here's to old Ireland undivided, to all good Irishmen and true. The north, the south, the east, the west, they will be forever blessed, one for all and all for Ireland's 32. On to Leinster now we go, Dublin, Longford and Wicklow, through to Carlow, Louth, Kilkenny and Kildare. To Westmeath, to Meath and Laois, full of nature's beauty seems, while Offaly and Wexford fought their share. Then here's to old Ireland undivided, to all good Irishmen and true. The north, the south, the east and west, they will be forever blessed, one for all and all for Ireland's 32. Limerick and the Treaty Stone has in Ireland simply shown why Kerry sent O'Connell on to Clare. Brilliantly her off the sword, first saw light in Waterford, rebel Cork and Tipperary, dur and dur. Then here's to old Ireland undivided, all good Irishmen and true. The north, the south, the east, the west, they will be forever blessed, one for all and all for Ireland's 32. Connacht's province has the pride, the west awake and much alive, Sligo, Galway and Roscommon fought the foe. Leitrim, proud of Shannon's fame, running on I proudly name that grand and lovely county of Mayo. Then here's to old Ireland undivided, to all good Irishmen and true. The north, the south, the east, the west, they will be forever blessed, one for all and all for Ireland's 32.
In London one day as I walked down the street, a quarrelsome fellow I happened to meet, and looking me over he gave me some jars, saying, "What brings ye over from Meringo-Bra?" Well, a big black thorn stick that I held in me fist, around his big body I gave it a twist, and I silenced his mouth with a blow to the jaw, and I showed 'em the game played in Edinburgh. Well, they all gathered round like a pack of wild geese, so here's our old Paddy disturbing the peace. Well, I'm in prison for breaking the law, this quarrelsome ruffian from Edinburgh. The devil you'll get me, you pack of Shaylans, for here comes Mike Brophy from Ballynathlong, and me mother's first cousin, McWhite from Fort Law, and Big Paddy Kelly from Edinburgh. Well, the licking we gave 'em was delightful to see, and oh, how we waved our shillelaghs with glee, as we lathered them well and we laughed at them long, and we showed 'em the game played in Edinburgh, and we showed 'em the game played in Edinburgh.
Oh, my name is McNamara, and I come from County Clare, in that darling little isle across the sea, where the mountains and the hills, the lakes and rippling rills are singing the sweetest music all the day. Oh, our little farm was small, it would not support us all, so one of us was forced away from home, and I bade them all goodbye with a teardrop in my eye, and sailed for Castle Garden all alone. I'm an honest Irish lad, of work I'm not afraid. If it's pleasure to you, I will sing or dance. I'll do anything you say if you'll only name the day and give an honest Irish lad a chance. When I landed in New York, I tried hard to get work, and I traveled through the streets from day to day. I went from place to place with starvation in my face, but every place they'd want no help, they'd say. But still I wandered on, hoping to find one that would give a lad a chance to earn his bread. But then it's all the same, though I know I'm not to blame. And often I have wished that I were dead. I'm an honest Irish lad, of work I'm not afraid. If it's pleasure to you, I will sing or dance. I'll do anything you say, if you'll only name the day, and give an honest Irish lad a chance. But I know I've one kind friend who a helping hand will lend to a poor boy and to help him on at home. I will bring my mother here and my little sister dear, and nevermore from them again I'll roam. I will try to do what's right. I will work both day and night. Yes, I'll always do the very best I can. And God will bless the heart who will take a poor boy's part and make an honest Irish lad a man. I'm an honest Irish lad, of work I'm not afraid. If it's pleasure to you, I will sing or dance. I'll do anything you say, if you'll only name the day, and give an honest Irish lad a chance.
Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, tell me why you hurry so. Hush me buckle, hush and listen, and his cheeks were all aglow. I bear orders from the captain, get you ready quick and soon, for the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon. For the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon. Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, where the gathering is to be. In the old spot by the river, right well known to you and me. One word more for signal token, whistle up the marching tune, with your pike upon your shoulder by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon, with your pike upon your shoulder by the rising of the moon. Out of many a mud wall cabin eyes were watching through the night, Many a manly heart was throbbing for the coming morning light. Murmurs ran along the valleys like the banshee's lonely croon, and 1,000 pikes were flashing by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon. And 1,000 pikes were flashing by the rising of the moon. There beside the singing river that dark mass of men was seen, far above their shining weapons hung their own beloved green. Dead to every foe and traitor, forward strike the marching tune, and our army buys for freedom, 'tis the rising of the moon.
Urshingo, follow me, Urshingo, listen, no, I'll have a head and notice, no, I'll get a head, you see, and a born, 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 and a fellow, and a born, 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 and a fellow. Vain if at the full man, and vain if at the full man, and you will back on the matter, vain, me dress and hiding, not magic, nothing you see, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow. I do she that in the show, I do she that in the show, I do she that in the show, vain, me dress and hiding, not magic, nothing you see, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow. Vain if at the full man, and vain if at the full man, and you will back on the matter, vain, me dress and hiding, not magic, nothing you see, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow. I do she that in the show, I do she that in the show, I do she that in the show, vain, me dress and hiding, not magic, nothing you see, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow. Ursting off, we need me ursting off, follow me ursting all, listen all, I've a hand in Loris and all, got a do you see? And a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a born, and born, and a fellow.
But she was the queer old scousha anyhow, Anne Olivia Trinket-Toes. And sure he was the queer old bunce too, dear dirty dumpling, who's their father of Fingalls and Dothergills. Gaffer and Gammer were all their gangsters. Hadn't he 7 dams to wive him, and every dam had her 7 crutches, and every crutch had its 7 hues, and each hue had a differing cry, suds for me and supper for you, and the doctor's bill for Joe John.
And a foe.